What's that, Johnny? Don't forget the giveaway. Right, exactly. It is Tuesday, and you guys are going to want to enter the giveaway tonight. It's a double feature, meaning double the prizes. So make sure you guys enter at kicker.com/umweekly. Tonight is Kicking It with Andy, and we're going to be talking about adding a second battery to your system and going down some rabbit holes of just everything that entails. So make sure you guys just comment questions. We're here to have fun. And I'm going to try to go over a little bit that I've been studying even this weekend to polish on this topic. But without further ado, LLwA starting off the show. All aboard the night train. The Livin Loud with Andy locomotive is leaving the station, and it's time to be schooled on the extra juice needed for those Warhorse amps. And 100% thank you, LLwA. I appreciate you, and thank you for starting the train off. But without further ado, let's kick off this intro. I will see you guys in 3 minutes.
So we're kicking it with Andy, right? You know what that means. We living loud. What is going on, everyone? Thank you guys so much for tuning in tonight. I'm excited for this topic. You know, just this is something that every bass head does eventually. And you know what? I learned something. And I hope you guys learned something today, too. And appreciate you tuning in. See you guys in a minute. Let's get this train rolling.
Livin Loud with Andy.
Hey, Kicker Unmasked with our host, Livin Loud with Andy. Sorry about that. Had to pull up Kicker Club. You're a rock star. Keep doing what you're doing. Thank you so much, Will. And thank you guys for all tuning in with me tonight. You know, after Slamology, I was kind of thinking, man, what am I going to talk about? And just the whole Slamology show was awesome for Kicking It with Andy. We gave stuff away then. And of course, we're back at it 10 days later, doing it again. And it's a double feature. So just like the double live streams we did on Friday, you guys are going to get double the prizes tonight. That's right. 2 Bullfrog 100s. Each person gets one. You don't get 2. I mean, you can pair 2 of them together, which is pretty cool. 2 Bullfrog 100s were given away, 2 TW1 headsets were given away, and 2 EB400s were also given away. So make sure you enter the giveaway at kicker.com/UMweekly. Go check it out. The link I will drop in the description down below here. Give me a second. Come on, Ernie, you're supposed to be switching the cameras here for me. And that should be dropped. Thank you, William. Appreciate you. And again, thank you for all that you do for me and the channel. And you're just an awesome individual, sir. Fast Scoots, thanks for tuning in. Cedric, appreciate you. And honestly, Cedric here, Davidson, had a lot to do with tonight's show with just adding a second battery and the problems that you could run into when just throwing it together. And I just appreciate you for being an awesome friend. And you know what? That's the best way to find a topic is you go out in the field, you do something because you're going to run into an issue and that's something that you can talk about. And the 101s of car audio, some things you might miss if you just throw it together and it's your first time with the battery. We're going to go over the A's all the way to the Z's. And let me tell you, there's a lot of Z's in that rabbit hole, which is adding the second battery, that things that you don't even know and you're wondering why it's doing it. We're going to talk about it. Thank you, Cedric, again. Garrick, thank you for tuning in. Appreciate you, man. The Green Team. Thank you, buddy. Appreciate you. Cornette has been a member for 8 months. Would you look at that? So has William. You guys are awesome for just staying on the green team and being awesome individuals. I love you guys. Tree True, what is up? Thank you for hanging out with us tonight. And I know everybody at least, you know, tried or thought about putting another battery in your car, even if they never did. And the ones that did, maybe were questioning, how do you do it? So I did throw a little poll in the YouTube section over here. Let's see, let me pull this up. So far, out of 34 votes, 65 of you have put a battery in the back of your car. 20% said no, and 15% of you said that you will soon. And, you know, I feel like anytime that you're really trying to get more out of your system, you're wanting to run a bigger amplifier, you're gonna want more power. And this topic is about batteries, like 100% of adding a second battery. But, you know, it takes power to make power. And is that the only way to do it? You know, and I'm trying to stretch this out in an hour and not ramble too much, but there's a lot. I got a list here. I got a lot of references also for like the rabbit hole from this book. Thank you, Bill Frog, for sending this to me for a wedding gift. Man, you know, I could lose myself in this book. It's truly amazing. And just trying to write notes, I feel like I'm in high school, college again. And it's like I'm actually learning more this time around. It's great. But we're going to go over all that stuff through this show. Appreciate you guys hanging out with me tonight. And sometimes you do need more power for your DeLorean, for your flux capacitor, or maybe your capacitor in your car and your amplifier, you know? And I can talk about capacitors, but that's a whole nother ball field. And I feel like with the music that a lot of us listen to with DJ Rusticles, that's just straight sine waves, capacitors aren't as influential as a piece in your car audio system as much as it used to be when that book was written in the 90s. So that and lithium batteries are a whole nother thing, but we're not going to try to get into chemistries really that much tonight. It's more about adding that second battery. Let's see on the comments here. I appreciate all you guys just hanging out with me. John, what's up? I put one in several times. You know, and there's a right way and there's a wrong way with batteries. You know, I get the question sometimes of just, how do I hook up a second battery in my car? And it's like, it is pretty easy. You just run a power wire back and you ground it, right? And I'm going to get into that too, but I don't want to skip ahead of myself because it depends every situation, and I'm going to try to explain that the best way I can when we get to that part of the video. So, but there's a lot to unpack when you're just trying to upgrade your electrical. And is it alternator and battery, alternator then battery, or batteries and then alternator? There's a lot of ways to look at it, let me tell you. I love this topic though. Let's see. Brett says he removed his appendix 7 hours ago, yet here I am. You didn't need it anyway, but I appreciate you tuning in, Brett, from the hospital or wherever you are. Thank you, man. That's awesome. This guy's cool, and you know, he's becoming one of the crew members, and you know, just being one of us that actually hang out after the show and vice versa. And I love you guys. I really do. Thank you, Brett. Beat Dev, thanks for tuning in. Hey, crew. Appreciate you, man. 25, what's up? Question, should lithium batteries be used to turn on your automobile? I mean, that is a little bit different, but at the end of the day, you need to know what the crank amps are, and some lithium batteries do list that, and that's kind of the way to look at it, because a crank amp is just what it is, how many amps it can crank to turn a car over, in a sense. And I feel like with lithium, you might need a little bit more than you normally would for your car audio system. But at the same time, the batteries are so small. So to have a lithium battery that's the same size as like a lead acid starting battery will definitely start at 100%. Thank you, 25. The horse is here. I don't see him, but I know he's there. Oh, look at that. Starting off good. Thank you, 25.
Make it rain.
Hit it, Michael!
Ready?
Went over.
Peace. Thank you, 25, and just letting the guys to make it rain pennies. Appreciate you, man. All that you do. I really do. What's going on, John? There was a poll. It is on YouTube in the comments section. It should be on the very top over here. That is the poll section right there. Yes. Yes. All right, cool. Let me catch up on these comments. Because it's like I with any live show, I just wait for everybody to get here, and then we start getting into the steak. We can just look at it right now. What's going on, Mike? Thank you, Basshead30. Thank you for always tuning in. It's going to be a good one tonight. You know, and it really is. I didn't think that I could think of a topic that quickly. And then Cedric came over and he was having some issues with his car. And, you know, it's sometimes you just might overlook something. And whenever you have a second battery in your car, and let's just say the fuse blows in between those batteries, your amplifier's still going to turn on. But if you didn't have that second battery in the back, you would know immediately that there's an issue because the amplifier is not turning on. So you're going to start checking fuses, you're going to start checking stuff. And that's one thing I will talk about before we start, is with that setup, exactly how that happened and why, and what could have prevented that is a voltmeter that is in the back of the car and the front. I see a lot of installers, no, nothing against them, but you know, you need the voltmeter to read what's in the back of the car, because obviously if it's working in the front, the car's really not going to start. You know, you're going to be able to tell a lot quicker than if something is wrong in the back of the car. And with the volt differences, that will tell you quickly, hey man, I'm only at 11.5 with the car on. What's the problem here? And that is something that I cannot stress enough, is having at least a voltmeter in the back of the car after any kind of fuses so that you can tell where an issue could be. But yes, Cedric, I'm happy that we were able to figure that out. He's wondering why his amplifiers are going into protect after he upgraded his alternator, and I'm looking at it and I'm like, would you look at that? It's the fuse. They're going into protect just because it's low voltage. It's not because of, you know, more power and the gains need adjusted. Doesn't really happen. It can, but I'm glad we got that fixed. Let's see. We got Sarah Dusty tuning in from Kicker Club, Junior, Benjamin, Justin. Thank you, guys. Let's see here. Okay, cool. I want to keep these comments going. I don't want to miss anything, and I got to keep them rolling. Ashy, thank you for tuning in, man. I appreciate you. We got Mr. Mullen up in the chat. What is up, Mr. Mullen? Where is Bobby? There's Bobby.
Uncle Bobby B, baby. Uncle Bobby B.
Thanks for tuning in, Bobby, Aaron, Ronald. I just got my 370 amp alternator today, getting my D4800 XS up front soon and a D3400 in the back. I have it a wire directly from the alternator with a 4000 RMS from the amp. What do I fuse? Okay, so with the fusing of that, I know some people ask, do I need to fuse that? I mean, technically, yeah. I don't, but it all depends how comfortable you are with your setup and your experience, and things can go bad, and if they do, a fuse is really going to defuse the situation quicker than you pulling out cable cutter. So there is that. Now, with the fuses, technically, what is it, every 18 inches before something with a load source? I think that's the technical way to look at it, is like, you know, pretty close to the source and in the beginning and at the end of it, you know, and between batteries and amplifiers to cover all your bases. But yeah, I'm trying to think with that. It depends which way you have it wired. Is it going right from the alternator to the rear battery? Is it going from the alternator to the front battery, then the rear battery? And I would say just between your connections, at least put a fuse from the front of your car to the back. So if you have a problem up front, it's not going to travel through your car. And if you got a problem in the back, you can also fuse there too as well. If there's a problem in the back of your car, it's not going to travel through the front of your car. You know, you can never have too many fuses, but that's another thing too, is when you have fuses or additional connection points is when you can run into voltage drop. And I am going to talk about that as well with isolators, because that's something you got to think about too when you're adding a second battery. You know, with the isolators, I'm kind of skipping around here on this. Isolators down on the list, but we will go over the isolator since we're talking about fuses and we're talking about, I don't even know what you would, just voltage drop. When the pro of running an isolator is simply so that you are disconnecting the front battery and the rear batteries, because they have different resting voltages, or say you want to play with the car off or something. I don't know. That's a dual isolator setup, but we're not going to get into that. Just a simple isolator setup so that you're eliminating any kind of, you know, balance in between the front and rear battery of your car. And why that is very important is when you're running lithium or you're running an AGM in the back and the front of your car, most of them nowadays still have lead acids that are under the hood. And that is an issue with the resting voltages. So what a lot of people do, instead of doing battery deletes and a whole lot of extra work or putting a supercapacitor, you know, safe battery underneath the hood, and those don't really have an issue at all with resting voltages just because it's a capacitor. It's different. It's not a battery. And what I'm trying to get at is you put that in there so you're not doing wear and tear on your nice battery that you put in the back for your auxiliary, aka amplifier subwoofers. So you put that there so you don't put any, you know, wear and tear on that back battery. That's the main thing. It's not going to hurt the lead acid because that has a lower resting voltage. If anything, that is going to pull up the lead acid battery to balance out with the lithium, whatever type you're running within reason. And that's why I don't want to get into chemistries, but just isolators in general, because people are talking about them. People are talking about it. Bubba, I seen this. I was just looking at it.
I got bennies.
Thank you, Bubba. And rain has been called for. I offer these sprinkles. Thank you, Bubba. I appreciate you. Thank you for all that you do. And 25, thanks for letting them know that the rain has started. Jesse Downing, thank you for liking on Facebook. We got Junior, I'm getting a third battery. Do I need to fuse that too? I mean, if I'm more of a guy that says, do what I say, not what I do kind of thing. So yeah, definitely do that, because if you run into an issue, the fuse is going to be your friend. You know, it's not going to be a bad thing. But again, with the isolators, like I was talking about with the fuses, every connection point, you're creating a little bit more resistance between the run of just voltage drop across the line. So that's why you see a lot of battery banks, you know, when you have like 1, 2, 3, 4, possibly more in the back of your car. And I'm going to get into that too. I got a chart for that about wiring more than one battery in the back of your car and how to do it the right way. Is why you see, even with like lead acid or AGM batteries, you know, those big walls of batteries, they got bus bars. There's a reason for that. And so that makes it a little bit simpler, because then you can fuse for in front of that, but then that's a lot of current. You're going to need just one for each wire. I fuse for short. You're supposed to fuse for current. That's the way you got to look at it, and length. And that's a whole nother topic too. How big of a fuse do I need for the length of run that I'm wiring to? Because that's the difference. The longer the run, more internal resistance is in that run, just because the size of the wire and the amount of current going through. Simple physics, Ohm's law. But yeah, man, I would definitely run a fuse in between there. Let's see. Sub is down. The battery is the heart of any sound system. You know, it really is, man. You know, you need that battery, the alternator, and that's what I want to get into too. I'm telling you, there's a lot to talk about tonight. So, when to add a second battery? I'm gonna get into this as quick as I can. There's so many comments. John, just throw them up if you can while I'm reading this off, but I'm gonna try to just get into my list here with my chicken scratch with the Kicker handbook. This thing's awesome. Go check them out, kicker.com. All right, so when to add a second battery? When to add a second battery can be a little bit controversial, because people are going to tell you maybe you should just run a high output alternator instead of just adding a battery. And I am on train with that, because I was reading with this, and it does make sense. I did a video way back when about alternator versus battery, and pretty much showing that the alternator is going to do the power for the amplifier until it cannot. And then that is only when you start to dip into the batteries. And that is why I don't want to get into chemistries, but in general setups with lead acid, AGM, and lithium iron phosphate, that's the case. Now, when you run a higher, you know, voltage lithium, then it's a little bit different, because you're still in that operating range, and it kind of all works together, but it's still the alternator doing the work. So, with that being said, if you have, and why I wanted to bring that up, and I did more research into it, was with the myths of car audio. Can you run multiple batteries on one alternator? You know, can you do it with the stock alternator? Is it going to hinder you any? And that, it's half true, it's half not. It's not that you can't do it. You can run a stock 100 amp alternator on 30 batteries. Now, say they're perfectly charged. Okay, not a problem. You start playing your system, right? You're playing your setup, and you go over that 100 amps. You start dipping into those batteries. Obviously, you're going to be into the battery power, and you're going to have a ton of it. You know, so your voltage isn't really going to drop too much, but over time you will. And it's going to take longer to charge at. And with a stock alternator, it's just going to take longer than compared to a high output alternator. But what the problem is, when you have all those, like, say 10 batteries trying to be charged by 100 amp alternator, one, it's going to take forever. And two, you start playing your system again, that alternator is trying to put juice back into those batteries first. And then after they are charged, then give you power for your amplifier. So you got nothing for your amplifier, then you're still stuck at your battery. So it can be diminishing returns. But with lithium, the big battery banks you see, like EXO has, the 6 series LTO, that kind of stuff, sodium, it's a little bit different, because that operating range is right where the set point is for the alternator. So it kind of is the same, but it kind of isn't. But right, it's just something I wanted to talk about, man. It's crazy with this stuff. You think you know, and then you don't know. But sure, can you run a stock alternator and add 2 batteries? Absolutely, man. Absolutely. Dave, Love you, Dave.
Just hit the like.
Just hit the like. Just hit the like. Thank you, Dave. Do not forget to hit the like, people. And it looks like we got 32 likes. Thank you, guys. And 33. Look at that. Oh, would you look at that? Thank you, Dave. Appreciate you guys. Man, you know, tonight's topic, it's deep. But I'm trying to get in there, and it's a deep cave. Thank you, Dave. Appreciate you. Again, guys, do not forget to enter the Kicker giveaway. Kicker.com/UMweekly. Giving away twice the prizes tonight. 2 Bullfrog 100s, 2 TW1s, and 2 EB400s, and the swag packs. And a 50% off discount codes, 2 of them. So that's 8 prizes tonight. Please enter. Please enter. Right. Absolutely, Jason. The reason alternators are fused and fusible linked, that's just like, it's like a bottleneck. It's not a fuse, but it kind of acts like one from the factories, because sometimes the alternator can short internally. It's rare, but does happen. You know, my cars, they have fuses. If you ever look at them, they have fuses on top of, like, usually the battery post terminal for the alternator. And it is smart to do that. The only reason I've never done it is just one more connection point. And with what my system is, the more you learn about it, the more you know that, okay, you got way overkill. You shouldn't have an issue unless there's some kind of catastrophic event. But I run all quality stuff between the Kicker, the XS, and an Ohio Gen alternator. I got trust in my equipment, but of course, can make you sleep a little bit better at night. Be Too Crazy for You, thank you for subscribing. You guys are awesome. We have over 60 people between Facebook and YouTube. You guys are rocking it, man. And thank you so much for subscribing. And thanks for tuning in, Jason. Excuse me. Frank, thanks for tuning in. I got stock alt with batteries, 2011 Corolla. I think that's what that is. You know, it definitely works. And man, for the longest time, ran a stock alternator. I just threw a bunch of lead acids in the back, and it worked. And then threw some AGMs in the back, and it worked. But I always wondered why I only got to 12.8 volts, and I couldn't really get much higher than that, no matter how many batteries I put in there. And I want to show you guys something. I had it here, but we're going to move around here. I was reading it's not the Bible, but it's the next best thing. This is the, let me pull this up here. This is the AutoSound 2000 book. Keep forgetting the name. It's like, you know what I mean? It's like Millennium 2000, the Falcom 2K. And I was reading over this, and there's just so much information in this book. And why I'm bringing this up right now, and we're going to be talking about a few other things here. This isn't the catch-22 situation, but it can be. Now, this right here is so important. Let me pull this in so you guys can just really look at it. Remember, the output voltage of the alternator must drop below 13 volts for the battery to be of any use when the engine is running. This means that the engine on your stereo system will derive no benefit from additional batteries until you overload the alternator severely that its output drops below the battery voltage. Believe it or not. Talk about Ripley's, man. And yes, that was my problem when I just threw a bunch of batteries in the back with that type of chemistry, just normal stuff. And that's the key. And that's kind of like what I was saying with, you know, with a stock alternator, tons of batteries. And it's really the alternator supplying all the power first, the batteries doing it second. Obviously, it all kind of works out, but at the same time, that's how it starts. That's how it starts. Electrons do flow from negative to positive, but current flows from the positive to the negative. So that's just kind of like the motion, you know what I'm saying, of the power being delivered through, and then whatever, and that's because it's above what the battery really can do with those types. Lithium, different story, but we're trying to keep it simple tonight because a lot of people are just going to add an AGM in the back of your car, and we're going to talk about the pros and cons, which we're already doing. Thank you guys for sticking with me, man. You know, it's a lot with this, and I'm trying my best to like stay on subject and, you know, tell you guys enter the giveaway, you know, all that fun stuff. Car audio enthusiast, thanks for tuning in, man. Yeah, I need to fuse my alt. The internal short thing could be so bad. Right, you know, and if your alternator goes, usually it's like I think it's your regulator, rectifier, I don't know, and then your voltage just spikes, and that's whenever you can run into just melting your front battery. But that's why you want to have voltmeters on the front and the back of your car so you can tell what's going on real fast. If you start seeing 16.2 and you're charging at 14.4 normally, probably is a problem. So, yes, it can be catastrophic. Thanks for tuning in, dude. Cedric said, my system is so loud. Hey, man, you know, when you're running Kicker, it's a little bit easier. Ashley loves his Ohio generator. Man, you know, this ain't Ohio generator plug, but it is. It takes power to make power. Give him a shout. Tell him I sent you. Tom will hook you up. Thank you, Ashley. What's going on, Tessa? Thank you for hanging out with us. Miss ya. Hope you're doing well. Dub team. Question, Andy's. Would you run a ground from the rear battery to the front, then to the alternator to make a proper ground loop? Also, Big Jeff Trolley number 3 is still a circle. You know what? That's funny because I do have that right here on the fourth thing that I wanted to go over is ground loops. And, okay. Okay. Good question. I'm going to pull this down just so I can just look at it a little bit better here. But with, okay, ground loops. Whenever you add something to the back of your vehicle and you're changing the ground location, pretty much, of where the current is flowing. Like I was telling you guys earlier, the current flows from positive to negative in a car. Like the current, not the electrons. That's different. We're keeping it simple because that's really how it works. Whatever. So whenever you're having it go from the front of the car to the back of the car, that's whenever you can run into issues with the ground. Now, I know people have told me before, you know, don't ground a chassis, make a ground from front to back, like he was saying here. You know, from front to back. And that can help, but it's not an end all be all. Because the reason why that you have ground loop noise is because of the ground potential differences in the vehicle when the alternator is on. When the alternator is not on, it does not change the ground potential. There's no current from the AC ripple, DC ripple, whatever, the ripple of the alternator, of how it makes power. And with the switching turns, whatever, with the 6-phase or 3-phase, 6 diodes, and just makes it a DC line of power for your car. That's how it works. It's just like an AC generator, vice versa, takes it to the DC. There's your power. So when it does that, there's a little ripple on the bottom like that. That is what you're hearing with the ground loop noise. So whenever you add something in the back and you're changing that ground back there to the front, because you're going to have voltage drop between the front of the car and the rear of the car. And that voltage drop difference is going to be the difference of the ground potential as well, because that's traveling through the car and then back if you're doing a ground dedicated front to back rather than just using the chassis. Long story short, that's why you can get ground loop noise. Everybody hates that. Ground loop noise is, God, it's the worst thing. You turn on your new setup, you start driving down a car, you turn the AC on and you start hitting the gas and you just hear real loud. It's like, what did I do? What did I do? So when you're adding that second battery in the back, there's a few things that I can tell you to try to help not have that happen. Because just because you run a 0-gauge wire front to back, and it's safe, you don't ground in the back of the car, and you're just trying to bring the ground to the front, there can still be differences and there can still be that noise. It's not an end-all be-all to get rid of that when you're adding that second battery in the back of the car. So, yes, you can ground a chassis. It's not a bad thing to ground to the chassis. and people might say, oh, it's only good for this amount of current. That's really not the problem. It's a really big conductor is the problem. Your whole car is metal. Think of it like that. And whenever you have your taillights, your headlights, your everything plane connected to your chassis, and you got power going to the back of your car, and that ground is returning back from the chassis to the alternator's ground that is making that power. That is what makes the noise. Whenever you have your RCAs laying down on the ground by your chassis, yes, it can be from the power wires running parallel, and to eliminate that, you would need a whole ton of insulation around the power wire to help it, and it still wouldn't fix it. You got to keep it far away, but that's not even the biggest problem. And I've come to this too, and I'm going to look at some of my systems too, because I got a little bit of wine in the Pilot, and it's because the RCAs are laying on the chassis, and I'm grounded the chassis. That is something to think about when you're adding a second battery and running your wires to do all this with any setup, is to eliminate that ground noise. Don't have your RCAs laying on the chassis if you're grounded to the chassis, because that current is literally coming back through the chassis, passing by those RCA wires, and those RCA wires are actually picking up that ripple. They're picking up the ripple from the ground potential difference. That's crazy, man. There's people say so much stuff, and this book teaches you so much. And I could go deep rabbit holes with just ground loops and stuff, but it definitely fell into tonight's topic because of when you're doing this, what do? Do you ground at the chassis? Do you have a dedicated ground? Cookie Monster, I got now a dedicated ground going front to back, and I'm also grounded in the back of the car. Obviously, current's going to go it's going to travel the way of least resistance, and that's just how it works. But I don't know, man. Ever since I did that, I had the tiniest bit of alternator whine, and now it's gone. So that might be because of that, where I have, big zero gauge going through, and that potential difference is less, so it's less noticeable. And that is the key with that, is the ground loop noise, that AC ripple from the alternator supplying power to your car to charge your batteries. That is alternator whine. And it's truly nuts. Thank you, Dubby. You got me down the rabbit hole early, but you know what? That was a pretty big one. I think it's really crazy just how that stuff works. Thanks for tuning in, Ken. Appreciate you. Better to ground at battery. I mean, batteries have very, 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 very low internal resistance. So yes, that is why some people just ground at the battery and then run a dedicated ground so that it goes right to the alternator to try to eliminate that potential ground difference. Yes, they are a great ground, regardless of what people tell you, man. But that ground has got to be grounded to that alternator case on the outside somehow, some way, to help eliminate that and make the complete circuit. And your alternator is connected to the chassis, and that's why people connect to the chassis for their ground, for their cars, for their stereos. That's why. John, thank you for your comment. So I'm sold on the idea of adding a battery, possibly more to the back with an isolator. I know lithium kicks butt and takes less space, but what other options could make sense to consider? Right, whenever you're wanting to run lithium is the lightest. It might, and honestly, at the end of the game, to get a lot of power, it is the cheapest rather than just, ton of AGMs, less capacity, but you get a lot of discharge and at a higher voltage in most cases than AGM or lead acid. So it's kind of a no-brainer nowadays, but there is that problem with the resting voltages between the two. So you add the isolator, and that's a thing too. I will get to it. Remember that, Andy. Other options, I mean, you can look at sodium, but sodium, it rests a little bit lower. That's why they got the S6 for the Titan 8s that run a little bit better with lead acid, like 12.5, which is really kind of perfect, or 12 or 13 for the Power series, which is good for AGM, an aged AGM. And if it's a little bit off, it's not terrible. But still, LTO's, it's got a lot of cycles, and that's why I don't even run an isolator on Kayla's car, and it sits a lot. But she's got LTO that got like 10 to 20,000 cycles, and it's with an AGM up front. So the lowest is going to go is 13.2, and safe is like, I think, 11 volts on a 6 series LTO. Like, that's like bottom of the barrel. Obviously, you don't want to drain it that low, but still, they have a pretty wide operating range given the situation. So I love LTO, but it's you got to charge a little bit higher than sometimes too. So that's whenever you're adding a second battery in your car for your system, it's a big decision because, like I said with the alternator, you know, you should upgrade that, and also the battery too. So with what you're trying to say here with the isolator, you know, I've ran them, they're okay. And one thing I do want to note on the isolators is this. There's a diode in between there, resistor, diode, one of the two. I always get them confused, but still for that switch. And there's literally a 0.6 to 1.2 volt possible on cheaper ones, volt drop difference. You know, and that's a problem. Whenever, even if you have lithium in the back that rests higher and whatever, your alternator, what it is it's going to have a charge set point, 14.4, 14.8 normally. And when you have that voltage drop in the front and the back of your car because of that isolator, there's a problem. So your front batteries, you know, it's charged to 14.4, everything's great, but your back one's at 13.8. So the alternator thinks everything's peachy keen. It can't see that voltage drop in the back. And that's why I don't like isolators, because there's that factor alone, and then another connection point because you got your fuse and your isolator. And yeah, you should run both of them if you're doing that. So yeah, I don't recommend this, but you could reposition your sense wire for the back of the car so that your lithium or whatever you're running back there is getting sensed correctly and charged fully, but then that front battery is going to be getting charged higher regardless because of that voltage drop. But that's a runaround. I wouldn't suggest doing that. But you know, the options are out there. It all depends what you're willing to do, John. Thank you for hanging out and helping me. Thank you for tuning in, Caden. Appreciate you guys. Man, I'm so far behind on the comments. What's going on? John got bass. Davis. Thanks for hanging out, Sean Lynn. Handy Andy. Thank you, man. Appreciate you. Super caps, John. Super caps. You know, that is what I have in Cookie Monster. And Remy from Excess Power told me to do that. Run the, what is it? The Super Bank XS super capacitor under the hood safe battery. You put that there. And capacitors, I don't know if you know, they don't have much capacity, even though it's in the name. They just got a lot of power. And what's great about that is it's not really a battery, so it doesn't really have a resting voltage per se, even though the cells do have a nominal. It's not like that. It's like a little bit different. And regardless, that is the way to go. And capacitors, unlike batteries, are really good with high heat compared to lithium or AGM. You know, with high heat. No battery is good with high heat. Batteries are the best operating range, 80 Fahrenheit to 120. And guess what? Alternators, they're the opposite. They like to be cool. So it's really hard. One thing I do want to note is when you have a battery in the back of your car, until you start playing on it a while, which will warm it up eventually, it's not going to play as efficiently, you know, just not going to be as good as one that's maybe under the hood around 100 degrees. And that's just not every battery. That's probably more AGM, lead acid, compared to lithium. But that's what I learned in this book. And I believe it, man. It is the word. It is the word. But yeah, man, appreciate you guys. And super caps, for sure. Do you have like 3 sets, Bobby? Yeah, I think he's got 3 bullfrogs. He just wants a 4th one so he can make a surround sound setup in his room. Sarah Dusty, thank you for tuning in. I run 196 amp hour of headway on a 370 amp alternator at 14.7, but want to go to 296 amp hour spin banks to run 15.4. Any info on spin banks? Our buddy Jake from SDK, he just loves them spin banks. And, you know, I mean, spin C-Max. It's all around the same nominal resting voltage stuff, range, 3.7 volt lithium ion, and it works. It's probably the most energy dense battery, and when you got something that's very powerful, it can be very dangerous too. So there's always that. But yeah, they definitely work. They do need to be charged a little bit higher than a normal battery compared to lithium iron phosphate, lead acid, AGM, or even LTO. I think a little bit higher than that, but still, regardless, needs a higher charge, and be careful with that thing. You know, I love LTO. It's not the best in strength or price, but reliability, and it's safe. It's safe. It's safe. It's not gonna burn your garage down just in case, you know, you tap something backwards. But right, whenever you add that second battery, that's something you got to think about, is you want something safe back there because you're in that car. You know, if your car's on fire, there's a firewall. Okay, that's why there's a name for that. It's a firewall. It can protect you from fire, so it's a little bit safer. If you got something in the back of your car and you don't have a firewall back there, you got to just, you know, box for 412s. It's just going to come and get you real fast if you do have a problem. So choosing a battery to put in the back of your car is very important too. And any battery can work perfectly fine in its required just parameters of temperature and current and just how you treat that battery. And it's a scenario that is designed to do and work well in. It'll work for years to come. But we are all dummies sometimes, man. You know, you're at Slamology, you're showing off your friends, and you know, you don't notice your voltage right away. The next thing you know, your battery starts to heat up, it starts to swell, and things can go bad just no matter what you're running. So just make sure you do a little bit of due diligence on battery selection and installation of how you do it. We talked about the grounds, the ground loop, isolation, voltage drop, that kind of simple stuff. But to go back like a step, literally, it's just a power wire going parallel to the battery and the ground, like how we said, chassis or dedicated ground wire, and make sure that you don't have that ground loop noise from the alternator whine ripple. I love this stuff. I love batteries. I love batteries almost as much as I love Kicker. And it's just something that I'm still learning about, with just how they work. But that's the fun part about what we do. And I love putting this show on for you guys, man. Got you, Sarah. Dusty, I always do that. I know you, Dusty. Would you just look at it? If you have fire, snow is great for taking care of it. I do feel a little safer in the winter. You know what I mean? It's like, well, if that happens, we're good to go. Let's see, what did I miss here? El Fuego, the bird is the word. Yes. Thanks for tuning in, Kyle. Appreciate ya. Cornut. Wait.
Cornut. He does traveling installs.
Thank you, Cornut, for gifting a green team member for the show. Thank you so much. And this guy is always coming in clutch, especially in the end. Appreciate you, man. Happy that you're here tonight. Let's see. Better Ground a Battery, Super Caps John, and that was the membership gifted, or Elias just became a YouTube member on her own. Appreciate you. Thank you. All right, cool. Now that I'm caught up on most of this here, I'm going to let that roll. I'm going to let that scroll. We got 39 likes on YouTube. Now let me look at this poll here. Okay, so there's 64 votes, and 67 of you guys have installed a battery in the back of your car, or second battery. Thank you, Debbie, for liking on Facebook. And 22 no, and I will soon 11%. So, not everybody literally has done it yet. And that's why I was like, I'm going to do this topic so that people feel a little bit more comfortable walking into it. And, having your connections tight, your fuses fused where they need to be is very important. Ground location, I would say in most cases, just ground to your chassis unless you start to hear some alternator noise. And instead of rewiring your tail lights and every other thing that has a preamp level, kind of output, that's where the problem is. It's taking that preamp section of your amplifier, meaning your RCA's out, your DSP, all that fun stuff, and then it's just taking that and sending it to the amplifier to be amplified. That is the problem. So, you know, whenever you're doing all this, just kind of look at this going in. Now, whenever you have an amplifier without a battery in the back, I believe so you could still run into ground loop noise just because you are grounding on the back of the chassis. But I think with the battery in the back, there's more of a load for some reason. I don't know. The internal resistance in series, I don't know. I don't know enough, but I feel like it still could be an issue with that ground loop noise. And if I can make a whole nother video just on that, because there is no 100% way to eliminate it, because you don't know how your welds are connected in your car and your chassis, where your wires are going, and how the manufacturer did it themselves. There's a lot to it. All right, cool. Before I get ahead of myself here, add a second battery, alternator first. We kind of went over that. I mean, it's kind of, you know, self-explanatory, just because, you know, it takes power to make power, and your alternator can only do so much, especially when the batteries are depleted. You're just charging your batteries and you're not leaving much left for your amplifier, for the alternator to supply the power above that resting voltage of the batteries. Ground loop noises, we definitely cover those. Longer charge and discharge times, I mean, that's self-explanatory as well, just because you have more capacity, you got more batteries, so you can play longer past that point of what the alternator can do when you're actually dipping into the batteries, and it's going to take longer to recharge. And that's another reason why you want a high output alternator, so that isn't as fast. Thank you, Garrick. Appreciate you, man. I think I'll be all right with my 30 amp hour limitless lithium battery up front and a 45 amp hour limitless lithium battery in the back. Now, I know they do have engine-safe lithium batteries. I'm not 100% on those ones exactly. I know Excess Power's got them, and those ones can be controversial. I, myself, do not feel super comfortable putting any type of lithium under the hood, but that's just me, and that's my opinion. And I want to do some scientific research on that, too, you know, and figure out if it's safe or not, because my Eclipse runs really hot. I have to pop my hood at Slamology. I feel like I'm going to melt the paint off my hood if I don't. But right, man, with a 30 amp hour and 45 amp hour in the back, enough to start the car in the front and power your amplifier in the back, it's really good stuff, man. Really good stuff. Thank you, Garrick. Appreciate you, man. Let's see. Less power. We covered that. Isolators. We covered that with the pros of literally just separating the two. I thought Cookie Monster threw that comment up. Maybe that was Wiz. Wiz, was that you? Wiz, hey, was that you? Oh, now you don't want to talk. You know what? This guy. First switching the cameras, now throwing up comments. Can't control them. But yeah, the pros of the isolators when you're running a second battery in your car is obviously, you know, just for the resting voltages of lithium or even lead acid AGM, because those are different. So yes, and the cons is another connection point, voltage drop across the diode of that resistor, just whatever's inside there, you're going to have voltage drop, and then your back battery is not going to charge as good as your front one because of the sense voltage of the alternator and how that all works. So it's not very simple, but it is. If you're trying to make it the best you can, there's a lot to this. If you're just trying to add another battery back there, sure, do it. Ground of the chassis, you're done. But make sure the ORCAs are not laying on the chassis ground. That's very important. I feel like that's the biggest thing I took away from it. I always thought it was just by the power wire or anything that has a lot of current. That is a problem. And another thing to note too, whenever you have, like, say you have your amplifier in the back connected to your rear battery and you're using your battery as a distro block, that's fine. Now the problem is whenever you hook up your DSP that is in the back of that and it's on the same block, you also can run into that, like, just noise because of the current passing through for that amplifier. And if you have, like, if you have them laid up on top of each other, it's probably really bad. But if they're on the same block, you can still run into noise from the ripple, I believe. I know it's noise. It has to be from the alternator because that is supplying and making the power. But right, just make sure that I would make the connection on a separate distro for anything that is a preamp level like just signal driver, a DSP, a key lock, something like that. Just make sure it's not directly connected to something that is passing a lot of current through that terminal block, because you can run into issues whenever you're adding your second battery. I'm telling you, this all blends together. I love this episode. It's a lot to unpack, and I feel like I'm forgetting stuff. I'm still going to get to the portion of when you want to add more than one battery in the back. Let's see. Can the Titan 8 go under the hood? Plus. I believe the Plus can. I think the Plus is the under the hood safe one. You know, and I've never personally done it, and I'm never going to tell anybody, oh yeah, go ahead, it's fun. You know, like, yeah, I trust excess power, but me personally, I have not done it yet. I will be grabbing one of those and doing a test on that exact one. I have, you know, the FLIR temperature sensor, camera, flim to FLIR right here. You know, and we're going to be able to see pretty much how hot that battery's getting compared to the engine, and if that's safe, even on the outside. You know, I wish I could crack one open, because that's really what's important, how hot that lithium is getting inside. Engines are hot. Thank you, man. I appreciate you tuning in. All right, cool. We got like 5 minutes left for the giveaway. Make sure you guys go and enter if you haven't already. Kicker.com, /UM Weekly. I know it says right here there's only, you know, 4 prizes, but there's definitely more than that. There are 8 tonight, and 26,000 entries. Holy moly, would you look at that? I can't. All right. How to wire one more battery. We're on it. Wow. Somehow I got through the show. I don't know how. I got one more thing to talk about, and then we're going to do the giveaway, and then that's it, folks. Yeah, that's it, folks. What's up, Doc? All right. Cool. Now let's talk about this. Let's look at this. Okay. So to keep it quick and blank, whenever you have one battery in the back of your car, obviously you're going to have positive, negative going to it. That's going to be connected to your amplifier, right? So whenever you have 2 batteries, the ideal way to connect those to the high current draw, meaning your amplifier. With low current draw, I mean, you could probably hook up anywhere. It's not going to be a real big difference maker. It's when we're talking high current, like, you know, 50 amps, 100 amps, 200 amps more. That's where you're going to see differences between the batteries that you have connected in the back. Now, when you have just 2 connected, say it's 100 amps. I'm going to look at this math, because I think this math, yes, about that. So say you got 2 batteries and you're pulling 100 amps, and you got one in the back and you got one in the front, and that one in the front has the charge wire from the alternator and the ground, and then you also have to your chassis. Then you also have your alternator hooked, or your amplifier hooked up to it. Sorry, just think of the amplifier. We don't need the alternator, just the amplifiers connected to it. But you got a battery here, you got another battery, and you're just connected to that front battery. That front battery is going to discharge more current than the one that's behind it, just because of the different resistance values with the batteries. One in, you know, they're in parallel, but they're in series inside. You're lowering the resistance, which can help because there's more plate surface area. But to keep things simple, the one you have connected to is going to be able to discharge more than the other one, which is not really helping you at the end of the day, because you need all that power and you need both batteries. If one's not doing all the work, that's like your friend pushing a rock up the mountain and he's not pushing as hard as you. You're going to be able to tell a little bit of a difference, like you're doing all the work. And that's why you want to connect one positive to battery 1 and then the negative to battery 2, so it equals out that balance field. Now, 3 batteries or more, we're going to look at this chart, because it gets really, really interesting. Thank you for tuning in, Joseph Keenan. Appreciate you guys. You guys are awesome. I have a Titan under my hood. It was under hood model recommended and stated by Excess Power, right? And I believe them. I just, for my own show, for my own thoughts on it, I want to try it myself before I go and say, oh, go ahead, because it is a thing, man. It's just lithium batteries and heat, they don't go hand in hand. But if you could make a container conceal the heat from the engine to the battery, it's going to help. And there can still be heat transfer through the power wire or ground that is going into the battery and into the cells. I think maybe if it, I feel like that's pulling hairs, have some kind of like cooling system, like how Teslas have heating systems for lithium batteries, have a cooling system. And that would be the ultimate way, because then you would always know how hot the battery inside is getting, and there would be some kind of BMS in there to take care of that. But that's just my opinion on it. So let me scroll up here. Okay, so like I was telling you about the two batteries, this is literally the same method right here. I can zoom in like a hair more here. All the percent. There we go. There we go. All right, so this is method 1, and this is literally what I was saying with the two battery setup. You have right here, this is your amplifier. You got your positive and you got your negative. See how these are all connected here? That's not the best way to do it if you're trying to get the best amount of power out of your rear battery setup, adding more than one in the back there. So with their explanation here, drawing 100 amps will be effectively drawing 25 amps from each battery, or so we think. Right, because that current is going to be divvied up. The voltage is the same, so it's not going to whatever. It's going to balance and spread out the workload like you think. But that's why we're going to talk about the proper way to wire them. So down here, this is very important. Battery internal resistance, interconnecting lead resistance. That's the problem. The interconnecting leads, and you got to make them all the same. Otherwise, you're going to have different amounts of current because the resistance is higher, letting the less current go through the same voltage. That's the problem. So this is what really happens. The bottom battery that is connected to the amplifier is going to give out the most, 35.9, 26.2 on the next, 20.4 on the next, and 17.8. That doesn't look balanced to me, and that is the problem. That is the problem if you just wire it that way. And you know what? I've done it. And I started messing around myself, and there is only this website that I found like a year ago that gives this information. There's more. I'm going to show you how to do it the right way. Now, this is method 2, and this is kind of like how I was explaining with two batteries. When it's two batteries, there is no imbalance in between these middle ones here. But this is the way I was telling you to do it with two batteries. You would have the positive on battery number 1 and negative on battery number 2. But this has got 4 batteries. So now you got 2 in the middle. Well, is that going to work? Well, yeah. But look, the bottom battery is 26.7 and the middle ones are 23.2 equally. Just because those resistant values between the two of those batteries are the same, but not for the outside batteries that are getting direct connect from the amplifier, just less resistance, and they're able to supply more power. So what is the right way? I don't suggest method 4. Yeah, I don't like method 4. Method 4 is a lot of wiring, and you got to get it just right. I would tell you to do it this way. If you got more than 3 batteries in the back of your car and you want them to all do the same power, other than a bus bar and having it connected the way I told you, because then all those internal resistances are going to be the same, because the bus bar it's the same between each one. That's the best. That's why they're great. Now with this, you're just going to have terminals on the outside of the battery, and each one of those wires got to be the same length to connect to those batteries, so the resistance is the same and so that they do the same amount of work together. That is the way to do it. This is a complicated way. You take positive on the battery number 3, and then that connects to battery number 4 and battery number 1, and then battery 1 to number 2. See why I don't like this one? It's complicated. It works, and this does the same exact thing as 3 with the terminals. Just use terminals. But this website is amazing. I actually have it. If you want to look at it later and just take a look at it, in the description of this video on Facebook, YouTube, everywhere. Check it out. It's like the top thing. It's amazing. And Bill, thank you for sending me this again for our wedding gift. This book, I could do a live stream on 2 pages, and that's what we did it on, like 4 or 5. And I feel like I missed a lot, and I learned other things that I didn't expect I was going to learn. And that's kind of what we do in car audio, man. You're not going to know everything. You never are. And you might go into wanting to learn about something, and then you'll learn about something else too, and that's the greatest thing, man. You might be looking at your amplifier and you're wondering why, I can't do this, and then you're like, oh man, I could do this with this power wire up here and get rid of that fuse and do this. That's the great beauty of what we do in this hobby, man. I appreciate you guys for hanging out. We had over 60 people here tonight, well, 58 on YouTube. I love you guys. You guys rock. You guys really rock. 46 likes. Man, thank you guys. RVH, thanks for tuning in. Bobby B, birthday. All right, let's answer some questions before we wrap this thing up. Joseph Keenan, I'm charging at 14.8. What cells would you recommend at that voltage? Either lithium iron phosphate, which really is 14 volts, but they listen to 14.8. We're not going to go there. Lithium iron phosphate works great. That's what I got. And I'm running 14.8 in Cookie Monster, and it works great with that Super Bank under the hood. About 3,000 in batteries, MSRP, but you can always build them yourself, but I wouldn't suggest the ones that go under the hood yourself. Buy those, and LFP is probably your best option if you're charging literally at 14.8. Sodium ion works too, but then that's the whole thing too with you're not getting the rated capacity. You're not going to get what it says on the box when you charge a 14.8. They do have listings for 14.6 on, I think, the limitless lithium batteries and stuff, but obviously you're getting a lot less power out of it compared to just what it could do. That's a problem. You're leaving money on the table with that. But they have a wide operating range, about the same amount of cycle life as sodium and as lithium iron phosphate, the sodium, and they work. They're light, and I believe those ones you can ship down to 0 volts, so if you accidentally leave your lights on overnight, it's not going to kill them. Technically, operating range 2 volts to 4 volts, usually, 8 to 16. That's the thing. That's the thing. But they work. So if you want to charge at 14.8 and you're like, okay, well, I want to go bigger, you don't have to change your batteries. You could stick with the sodiums, charge higher, and then boom, next thing you know, you got more power than your batteries are actually able to do more, and you can charge higher without changing the batteries. That's the cool thing about them. Big time. 100%. Thank you, Joe Keenan. Team No Fuse. Very cool wiring, Andy. Thank you, Jason. Appreciate you guys. Hit the like. Hit the like. I gotta throw it up again.
Just hit the like.
Just hit the like. Just hit the like. All right, we got a $10 super chat from LLwA, and it's Tuesday.
This is what makes time travel possible. The flux capacitor.
Flux capacitor.
The flux what? LLwA, hardcore stereo, aka Cornut. Going round 2 for an install in my 2016 4Runner ahead of Surf City Sound Off. His install work is unmatched. We will have an excess power D3400 plus a down for sound 2HC hybrid capacitor. That's awesome, man. And those capacitors, they do their job. They're not like your old school 1 farad capacitors. They actually are a hybrid, and it's in the name. And a little bit of I forget what battery electrolyte it's in there, but it's it's like a lithium type battery and capacitor hybrid. But the cool thing about those, they're just very small, and they have a high discharge rate around 30C of that 2 amp hours, so 60 amp continuous down to 12.5 volt standalone, and that's more than you think you need in a lot of setups. You think, oh, well, I got a 1,000 watt amp, perfect. You don't see all that. You just don't. Thank you, LLwA. I can't wait to see this in person one day and to see Cornut's work. Thank you, man. Appreciate you, LLwA. From... Oh, where's it at? I move it around. You know what? I got used to my other... I had this all different for Slamology, and for some reason, I can't find a Pacific Northwest. There it is.
Pacific Northwest.
God, I couldn't find it. There we go. We're good. Pure Onyx. Thank you for hanging out. Can you mix AGM and lithium? I worry about not having my AGM under the hood. I mean, if I told you yes, the internet trolls would drag me down that rabbit hole with them. Now, that's the thing. Every lithium, no. Some lithium, Yes. But there's always that but. Whenever you're mixing any kind of chemistry, one battery is going to pull up on the other battery, and that other battery that's getting pulled up by the other battery is going to try to pull the other one down. And that's called balance. And that's what I did want to bring up here is the fish tank analogy here of power, but also with balancing too. It's kind of the same concept with the water tanks and the higher voltage. Just look at the shark one, and then look at the amplifier one that's right beside it too. It's right there. We're just going to look at the height difference. That water that's higher, and say there's a tube going from one end to the other, it's going to want to balance out. That's how that stuff works. Now, if you have that all the time and they're constantly balancing out, you're taking microcycles away, and then you're also pulling down on a battery probably below its resting voltage. That is the issue, and you're going to do damage to the lithium that's going to naturally sit higher than the lead acid or AGM. That's why and only why they have a 5S LTO, because then you don't have to worry about that, but then your operating range is still around that 11 to 13 volts like an AGM or lead acid. That's why people dislike them, and they have their place, just like a lead acid or AGM. People want to stay at 13, 14 volts. So yes, they want to mix lithium with their AGM and stay a little bit higher, but not every lithium's lithium iron phosphate's pretty close to AGM. Not going to lie. 13.4 to 13.2, and an AGM, depending the AGM, is anywhere from 13.1 to 13.3. So it's not terribly different, but if you got an old AGM and it's not really resting at 13.2, 13.3, and you pull that LFP down below 13.2 all the time, that's at 30% state of charge, and you start pulling it down below that, you're going to start to degrade the cells, meaning just they're going to start getting worn out. The battery's going to start swelling, and that's whenever you see those accordion things, that the battery case is just blowing apart. LFP, anything. That's when you see that, because you're hurting the cells. So can you mix them? Sure. I don't recommend it, but I also do it. And it depends the situation. And that's why the isolators are so popular, but we talked about that voltage drop and their cons of that, but that's what they're for. And if you don't mind a little bit of voltage drop, and you won't have to worry about what I was just talking about. So that's why they have a place as well. So it all depends what you're trying to do, what you're willing to give up, just like bass in your car. How much space do you want to give up? Well, you want to be louder? Okay. Less space, more for bass. And that's how it goes. Thank you, Pure Onyx. Appreciate you. And you just got to look at it. Thank you, Sean. I can't. Oh,
That's a live stream? Yeah. Would you look at that?
You got to look at it. Thank you, everyone, for tuning in. Thank you, Basshead30, man. You guys are awesome. And this show, I'm like, how did I pull this one out of my sleeve? You know what? I had a little tip. Thank you, Cedric. I appreciate you. He came over, he's like, man, what is going on with my stereo? And I'm like, you know what, let me take a look at it. Oh man, took it to two shops, they didn't see it. I'm like, would you look at that? That's your problem right there. And you just had to look at it, Cedric. That's all you had to do. You know what, I forgot to pull up the giveaway. No giveaway tonight. Just kidding. Let's make sure I click this one and not that one and this one and that one. It's I was like, I didn't draw the winners yet. It's because it finished technically, and I didn't have it up. Usually I always have that up right before I start. Let's see. Amish, that's a loaded question. Can anyone test? Oh, come on, man. Hosea Harris. Hey, Andy, can I run the 3600.1 at 1 ohm? I have a D. I mean, of course. I have a D 4872 amp hour. I think that's this excess power. And a D31. Both AGM batteries and a 320 amp alternator in Big 3. I mean, 100% Josiah. I think honestly, you got overkill. That 3600 at the most, I think they tell you to fuse it at, 400 amps, 200 amps per wire. And you're running at a safe load. So you're probably going to be pulling around 200 to 300 amps of current, and your alternator, like I was telling you ahead of time, is going to be able to supply majority of that, and the batteries are going to dip into that at the tail end. Say you're sitting at idle, you're not getting all 320 amps. I'm going to tell you that. So that's when your batteries come into play and you start to see below 13 volts, and that's the meat and potato of those batteries, and they will stick there. And I think you'll be okay. I really do. Thanks for tuning in, man. I appreciate ya. And the trolling begins. All right. Rig 3000. Now, Cornut's seen how I rigged this. He took a look at it. He said, oh, would you look at that? All right. I got my outro music, too. And what we're going to do, we're going to turn that up. Yep. We're going to turn that up. Yeah. Probably not going to be that much louder. Just a little bit. I got to do some work here. Watch the warhorse towel flex over there. Thank you, Josiah. Appreciate you. I appreciate you too, man. And that's that's why I love doing this. That's why I love doing this. Oh, it's rigged. All right, let me pull up the YouTube comments. Gotta love that solo. All right, now I got your guys' chat over here, so I can just look at it on a big 43-inch TV. I know it's not big today's standard, but all right. Thank you, Dubby. Okay. Not this button. Not this one. I clicked the wrong thing. There we go. Aha. Yeah, we need that guy. You know, when I was at Slam, boy, did I miss all my screens. just the whole thing. Just the whole thing. Okay. Let's see. We good here? Huh? Okay, good. You know, we just don't want well, one, we need to rig it. Two, we don't want people to get these that are not really here. Okay. Down. Oh no. Come on, man. Let's see. 25 had me with Cookie Baba. He needs something stronger. Guitar Hero. Oh yeah, Guitar Hero. It was yeah, David Buster's. I'm a little rusty. All right, so yeah, this one right here. Okay. Ooh, BT gifted 5 members. Larry Keller's become a member. What else we got here? Oh, what did I do? Ah, no. Adrian. I thought Adrian was already a member. What the heck? It's all right. He's back. Ken Alexander. I think he was just here tuning in too. All right. We're good here. We're good on my side. Let's start typing these guys in here. Cornut, you were Flameology. All right. Let me pull up this really fast because thank you, Brian.
Would you look at that? Oh my gosh, just look at it. Just look at it. You gotta look at it this way, okay? You just gotta look at it. That's all you can do anymore.
You do gotta look at it. You know, sometimes I catch Kayla looking at it. I say, would you look at that? And she starts doing it. God, it's so bad it's good. Thank you, Brian, for gifting those members. Awesome guy too, man. He wants to go to 2 L7X 12s. I mean, same. We all want to get louder. You get that taste, the bass, and you want more. And then you go to these shows and you want more. And whatever, you just listen to your stereo all the time. You want more. And that's people say they hate that part. That's the best part, man. You know, that next adventure you're gonna do, and that thrill of just what's gonna happen next. You know, whenever you got it, things are great, but I don't know, man. I feel like that feeling inside is like, oh man, I cannot wait to get an L7X 18. That feeling. It's probably gonna be better than having the L7X 18 after some time. Now, I don't know. Having an L7X 18 after 11 years of this one, maybe it might be a little bit better for me. But in most cases, usually the wanting is more enjoyable. That's twice I gave Blake a membership. You know what? It's because they keep nudging him. Hey, Blake, you gotta join for real, man. We love Blake. We love him. Yeah, see, we're all getting a little deaf. It's just around 40 hertz. That's the problem. All right, let me type in these winners and get this going. Okay. I'm going to tease you. Third place is nobody. All right, let's type in the names. Let's get serious. All right, I'm going to move this down on the floor. So I can actually type out these names. I forgot to throw up, while I got you guys here, I had some pictures of people with their dual battery setups. And, you know, cleanliness is key. And again, where everything is ran, I see RCAs, you know, going by RCAs, it should be, and not by power. And, you know, it looks clean. But adding a second battery or adding a battery into your system is always a big step. And having good connections on the battery and obviously a BMS, you know, things you got to think about. See, he's got a fuse in the back there and the front of his car. He's really thinking about it. He's got that lithium back there. I mean, that's not a bad idea. Here's Dusty's system with his L7Xs on the Marts. The Marts. And I think, yeah, that's the headway that he was talking about earlier on the show there. And on 4 L7Xs. But you know what I mean? It's like, when you have a lot going on, you eventually learn this stuff when you get to this point here. But for your average person that's got just two 12s in their car and they want to get more power, and like I showed on another video of just fuses, you'll want to have the battery close to the amplifier for less resistance. Just, you know, and you're not blowing your front fuse for dumb situations. Here's Mike's setup with, what was it, 9? Yeah, 9 Kicker KX2400s on 4 JY HP40s. Look at that bus bar. That's the best way to do it when you got individual batteries. That's the money shot right there, man. That is the money shot. I appreciate you guys posting these in Kicker Club. And here's Volt. What is? I forget the brand. I should know this. Glow voltage. There we go. Glow voltage batteries. And you know, you don't need a big battery bank. You can have something small. And this guy threw this one up here. I did want to show this one. And I believe he has it wired in method 1, where it looks like, well, you got positive on, well, I can't reach all the way up over there, but you got the positive right there at the end, it looks like, and the charge and the fuse, and then you got a ground over there, ground, and I would assume that last ground in the top left of the picture would be going to the amplifier ground. That's the proper way, but it could be better with the distribution block on the outsides so that that middle battery isn't lower like how it was in the thing we were talking about earlier with the Method 2 here. You know, oh, right, there we go. There we go. With the Method 2, you're going to have with this, that's how his is, and he might have a little bit less current being discharged on that middle battery. Not trying to pull hairs, not trying to say anything, but it's just like, I would have done it the same way, just like that. And you would think that would be good, but there still could be some differences in between that. All right, let's get to the names here. God, I could do a live stream for 3 hours, it seems. Okay. Again, we got 2 grand prizes, 2 second place prizes, 2 third place prizes, and 2 50% off discount codes. This is going to be good. Okay, cool. Let's see. Ooh. There we go. I think that's supposed to be capital. Yeah, you're supposed to capitalize state abbreviations, right? I think that's the method on that, I think. I don't know. Now you can just look at everything. There's a lot to look in the room. You can just count the seconds on the kicker clock, do whatever you want to do. Yell at Bubba or somebody in the comment section there, Mullen. Bus bars are life, 100%. Double E, it's going to be tough for you to win. And it's always tough for Double E, but somehow he rigs in his favor sometimes. And yes, car audio enthusiasts, yes, that is the answer. And you just got to look at it. All right, cool. So don't get lost here, Andy. There's a lot of prizes. Let's see. Okay. Excuse me. We finished our fish and mac and cheese for dinner. Literally in like an hour before the show. Oh man, I just too fast for me. Okay, that's a word. Yeah. You know, you look at a word. I'm just typing in that because I'm gonna forget if I don't. If I put in the 2 actual abbreviation, I'll be like, is it that state or that state? Because they're pretty close, but they're not. But anywho, okay, that's that. Now we got rigged. Riggedy, rigged. And okay. You know, I don't know why, like, I just did abbreviations for the other one and I just typed out the entire state on that. Man, that is just, I think that's ADD or something at its finest. Okay, got that. Now we gotta do this one here. Okay, cool. Last one, guys. Ooh, I got itchy ear syndrome. Okay, we're good. Cornut had corn nuts for dinner. You know, I believe it. And they do make corn nuts. My mom used to eat corn nuts. She was telling me about it. I'm like, oh, you know corn nut? Yeah, she's like, oh yeah, I used to eat that for lunch at school. You know? Wait, what? Oh, okay. Yeah. Okay. 50% off. Discount code number 2. Nope, that's not how you spell it, Andy. There you go. All right, cool. We're set. Let me see. Sent you a message, Bubba. Double E says solo L7Q. When will it be released? I don't know what you're talking about. Moving on. Brett's like, I want an L7Q. So I got the well, he's got the L7Q. L7XQ. Oh! I thought it was L7XQ. Oof. Oh man, I almost let out a wink there. Yeah, that would be, yeah, I don't know. We'll find out. We will find out from Kicker first. I mean, Sometimes me first. I don't know. Depends which way they go with it. But either way, I can't wait to see that. All right, cool. I got comments there. I can actually pull these ones back down here, so I don't have to look up so high. And I can just look at it down here and say, would you look at that? Okay, cool. Got the YouTube comments there. Appreciate you guys all in Kicker Club still hanging out, man. Joel, Cody, had Joseph Keenan in there. Eric, Chris, Raddick, appreciate you, man. Just got out his 50% off discount code. I've been slacking. I've been trying to catch up. It's been insane doing all this stuff, I'm telling you. Thank you for your just patience, sir. And Philip Gilmore, appreciate you. All right, cool. Let's do these winners because we got 2 sets the grand prizes like I was talking about. All right, so for the first 3rd place, you get the Kicker EB400s and swag pack from Kicker. Goes to Paxton N from San Antonio, Texas. Congratulations, Paxton. You'll be getting an email from Kicker, and thank you for watching. Appreciate you. Now again, the EB400s, another 3rd place prize goes to Ernie. Not Ernie, but Ernie B from Phoenix, Arizona. Thank you for watching. Appreciate you. Again, look out for an email from Kicker. Now we're on to 2nd place. 2nd place is the TW1 head. They're not headsets, they're earbuds. TW1 earbuds. They're the ones that I got, and they feel like the old iPhone headsets. I keep calling them headsets because that book called a head unit a headset. I'm like, what, a headset? Oh, the radio. Oh yeah, that makes sense. The earbuds, they're awesome. They work and they're wireless. The batteries are great. They're nice. 2nd place, the first one goes to Jason L from Sheridan. I put ARK, the Ark. From the Ark, no, from Arkansas. Congratulations. Appreciate you, Jason, for tuning in and watching. Let's get on to the second place prize. Goes to CM Enclosures from Santan Valley, Arizona. Thank you for watching and congratulations, man. Appreciate you always tuning in. That's how you know it's rigged. All right, let's go to it. We got 1st place and then grand prize. First place prize, the Bullfrog 100 and the Kicker swag pack goes to Ashy. Oh, you know who he is. Ashy Larry. I'm throwing his name out there. From New Jersey. Congratulations, Ashy. It's really rigged. This is what we do. Thank you for watching. Thank you for all that you do. And by the way, no for sale posts on Kicker Club. Just letting you know. Love you otherwise. Thank you for watching. 2nd first place prize. We got 2 of them. Another Bullfrog 100. Another Bullfrog. If you want to, you can, I don't know if their range is that long, but you guys both win tonight. You guys can maybe connect them together. I don't know. They got pretty wide Bluetooth range. I don't know about state to state, but that's pushing it. Goes to John P. from Allen, Texas. Congratulations, John. You're going to love that Bullfrog. Thank you for watching, man. All right, so now we got the grand prize. You can look at it as the grand prize or 4th place. I look at it as a grand prize because you can buy anything you want at kicker.com for 50% off. That adds up. You know, $1,000 kicker system, $500. $2,000 kicker system, $1,000. That is value. That is value. And without further ado, we're giving away 2 tonight. So let's do the first one. First 50% off discount code goes to Blake in Cincinnati, not Blake in Stillwater. I was like, Blake is not going to use this thing because he works for DD, but hey, maybe he will. I've seen him, you know, I think he secretly has like 4 Kicker shirts in his closet, I'm telling you. So anyway, Blake from Cincinnati, Ohio, congratulations. I will be sending you an email. Give me some time. I'm going to be a little bit more on it. Slamology threw me sideways, I'm not going to lie. And just everything else, slowly catching up. I'm caught up for the most part, but we got to do Livin Loud with Andy giveaways. And then all this stuff too. Never stops. I love it. Second 50% off discount code. Yes, we're giving out 2. The second one goes to Frank. That's not supposed to be a UJ. It's just you. You know you are. Frank the Tank, congratulations from Fresno, California. I will be sending you an email. Congratulations to all the winners. It's rigged. Man, tonight's show was literally insane. Literally insane. Thank you guys for watching, man. You know, you guys make the show. If I was sitting here and 5 people were watching, I don't think I would be as energetic, you know, and I know you guys are here with me, and the comfort of that means the world. Thank you guys so much for watching. And what's today? Tuesday. We're going live Friday, of course, but make sure you guys tune in on Tuesday for Kicker Unmasked, the real Tuesday show. And thank you guys for watching. And I don't know, anything else? Let's see. Did Wiz, are you there, Wiz? Hey, Wiz, you got anything to say to the people? Where are you at? Where are you at? I'm busy. Leave me alone. What do you want? You got any more power for my DeLorean? No, but I can find you some. Well, let me know when you do. Man, this guy, I'm telling you, he just wants power for his DeLorean. And I love you guys. Not gonna leave you hanging. I'll see you at the caboose. This was Kicking It with Andy. How to add a second battery. Do I need to, and why, and everything about it. And we went pretty deep. Thank you guys so much for watching. And as always, stay living loud. I'll see you guys on the next one.
So we're kicking it with Andy, right? You know what that means. We living loud.
Thank you, Basshead 30. You guys are awesome, man. Everyone tuned in tonight. Still got 40 of you guys here. Just take a look at it. Take a look at it. Just look at it. No, thank you guys for watching so much. I had so much fun tonight. I'll see you guys Friday. Please stay living loud. John, you should have tapped out, but you know what? If it's not a 160 at 49 hertz, you're probably not going to tap out, but Joby's system is awesome. And Cornut coming in with a $4 super chat. He's stealing it. I love you guys, and yes, you did win, Ashy. Stay living loud. I'll see you guys on the next one, and dance, and dance.